Hey friends, it's Lauren here. Welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I am thrilled to be recording a few days ahead of time. Lately, it seems like I've been a little less downtime and opportunity, so had to get a little resourceful or record on the day of the podcast and release it a little bit later than usual. However, those seasons happen and we just kind of gotta go with it, right? Today, I have a few topics floating around in my head, so I might actually record a couple episodes and then kind of pre-schedule just to give me a little bit of that room, especially when I have some downtime at home and opportunity to record. It's nice to be able to kind of batch things and get ahead of schedule for the times that are a little bit busier and harder to make room for those things. Anywho, I had a couple topics in mind, but I decided for today I would like to talk a little bit about my upcoming course. Now, there'll be some nuggets in there for you, whether or not you decide to like check it out or if you want to be in it. But I was thinking about content. My friend Lindsay, if you're listening, she's like a content gal and she just did this series. So I've kind of had the subject of content bounced around in my head and thinking about long form, short form. So if you're not familiar with those terms, short form would be more like an Instagram post, like a quick reel. In terms of like writing, short form would be just like short posts, whereas long form content is things like podcasts, YouTube videos, where blog posts, email marketing, like email uh, content, Facebook. I tend to use a lot of anecdotes and storytelling in Facebook. I know not everyone loves long posts, but honestly, like I've been doing it forever. I tell lots of stories on my personal Facebook page. I always have. And there's a few lovely people who appreciate it and they read the whole damn post and they comment and anyway, so that's kind of always been my thing. Looking back to my time in journalism and storytelling, like it's a part of me. I used to keep a really regular journal, something that I am feeling pulled and a little bit of resistance to getting back into. But however, I digress. The point is, I've been thinking about different types of content and how to share and I guess educate and just talk about the topic of this program and more big picture and then little nuggets and pieces of it so that the people who feel drawn and ready for exploring this can enjoy kind of the journey and see what it's all about from different angles. And I decided instead of just doing long form like Facebook posts, it would be kind of cool to use the opportunity to talk about it through my podcast and just keep the video posted in the Living on Lemonade group as a bit of a training, or not even really training, but just information, right? I am not always the best at articulating my words, but when I'm in a flow, it's powerful. And this is why I wanted to be able to use both mediums through video and audio recording, using my voice to talk about it, as well as written posts. And maybe if I make some time or get around to it, some like reels, or I don't know what that'll look like. But I know I have a couple weeks before the course starts. It starts Monday, November 4th. I have some time to create other content and get and have some fun with it. So back to Meet Your Soul. I want to give you the backstory. And if you've been listening for a while, you will probably not be surprised that I am delivering a course like this. Meet Your Soul started as a 5-week live course called Build Your Soul Care Toolbelt. So if you've heard that from me, I ran that course in the spring. It was something I was really pulled to. I knew that I needed to deliver it. I think I advertised it as like 13 spots or 10 spots, somewhere around there. But I knew right from the beginning, like there's something different about this course compared to the 5-week mindfulness meditation that I had delivered about 18 months before. I do plan like this whole journey has been very soul led. The Living on Lemonade podcast, the community, and the monthly trainings we do in there, the soul care hours, which I just got off of a little while ago. And I don't, what I can say about this is I don't feel like I need to rush anything because I just follow the breadcrumbs. I create and deliver things according to what feels good. I don't force things. And I went a year and a half between offering courses, and that's okay because I'm here for the long game. I'm here to create impact and lead people along a journey, a couple steps, like be a couple steps ahead of people who are on a similar journey and be able to impart wisdom from my own experiences, from my own embodiment, and not doing the work for people, not saying I can create a result, but I can give you the tools to help create your own results, because what I have learned through my own journey and working with mentors is the most powerful and empowering experience is not saying, oh, this person like led me through, or, this person did a healing thing and they healed me. But this person, through their own experiences, through their own embodiment and their own wisdom, gave me tools and held the safe space for me to explore the depths of my own being, my own soul, my own past, and the things that were coming up to be healed, and held the space and led me along the path to do my own healing. There's nothing more beautiful than that, honestly. And I don't want to do the work for anyone because I just don't think that's the point of this whole thing. For me, we're like a soul having a human experience. We come in here, we have a bunch of things that happen, we build our own identity through those influences, and then we spend, if we decide to live a more conscious and aware life, we spend a lot of time. I think the whole real journey, I don't think it ends, but we spend the journey uncovering the things that happened in our past and getting curious about it and expanding our love towards it, not making it wrong, healing shame, healing guilt, healing hate, healing those wounds, and finding our own light and leading our life from our soul, from our light, from our inner light that sometimes gets snuffed out by life. When I think about how this came about, I delivered it this past spring. So if you're listening in kind of real time, that would have been spring of 2024. Coming up to the 2-year mark of like when my dad passed away. As I've said many times in trainings and podcast episodes, losing my dad launched me into an identity crisis, or if you look towards the spiritual ends, like a dark night of the soul, when life changes in an instant in such a profound way that your life is no longer as it was. You can't go back. And it's hard to see how you can move forward. And that's how it felt for me for a really long time. My dad and I were close. We had our difficult times. I'm still healing some of the stuff that made that last decade or a little bit more with him difficult. And and allows me to grieve, what could have been. The antidote to that is just kind of find that acceptance that it couldn't have been because it wasn't, but missed opportunities based on decisions that were made, right? And I think that's normal for anyone, especially if you've had difficult times with someone, then you lose them. It's like you grieve, you grieve how you wish things could have been. Um, anyway, I was forced to, man, I was in the dark for a long time. If you've been there or if you are there, you understand what that means. It's dark, it's lonely, it's fucking scary. And I had to I had to find myself again. There are pieces of myself that I still knew were there, but my identity and my connection to my identity as like a daughter and as a daddy's girl was absolutely shattered. And, there were parts of me that absolutely was like burned to the ground. So that timeline, if we want to kind of have what's the word? Like a symbolism, a visual to visualize, it was like rising from the ashes of the part of me that died the day that my dad died, and rediscovering those pieces of me I was going to hold on to and building from the ground up who I meant to be going forward in this new existence of life. I know my dad's been with me along the journey. I still feel him. Um, I get the weird dadisms pop in my mind, and I know it's not just coincidence. Those are my own beliefs. And one of the things that I really held on to, especially at the very start, like there was a time period between yeah, when he died and that initial shock and stuff, and when there was all the disruption in our family structure. And in that time was when the idea of the living on lemonade really was born, and I knew that it was something I needed to explore and just yeah, go on a journey with. Um, so the seeds had already been planted, and I think I've done a decent job through taking you on that journey over the last, this is episode 84. Like how wild. And plus the bonus ones, there's actually 85 episodes, but I probably should have like named it a number. But anyway, I'm not gonna go back. Where I'm going with this is I when I kind of came out the other end of the darkness. Sometimes it was pitch black. And if I'm totally honest, and I've talked about this before, there was a period of time where I questioned my own commitment to being here. Um, there's a term for it that I can't think of right now. There was like contemplation, but it wasn't like I didn't have like a plan if I was gonna, leave this earth, take my life, however you want to say it. I didn't have a plan or anything, but there was quiet inward contemplation of like, do do I want to be here? Because like this is awful. And I I decided I do. And that's when I was starting to get some like emotional support and spiritual mental support as well in moving through some of the stuff that was really keeping me in the dark and making it so incredibly painful. And on the end of it, I knew that I knew that I was ready to share some of the depths of what I had experienced in a way that would bring light to others' lives. That almost sounds weird saying that, just like came through me, but that was the birth of Meet Your Soul Care Toolbelt, because through that darkness, it was the practices, breath work, tapping, a lot of the taking care of my human nervous system work that kept me alive. The other layer to that was staying connected to my soul, having a spiritual practice, starting my day with either a morning meditation or doing some conscious, deep breathing in bed before I even got up, spending 10 minutes just breathing deeply, nice and carefully and quiet and nourishing deep breaths before I even start the day to kind of set that compass for the day. That was my survival guide. That's essentially, if you put it in a nutshell, I wanted to share my survival guide, but I wanted to give you more depths of what that actually means for me. And so I knew that I wanted to share like the essence of what my soul care tool belt was to help me navigate the darkest time of my entire life. Also understanding that not everyone's going to use the same tools. So there was like, okay, there's this concept, but how's that look? Because everyone's going to be a little different. And this is where it was really interesting how the course unfolded, because I had two women in it. And I will say, before we knew how it was going to unfold, I surrendered fully. Like, I just knew there's something different about this course. There's a depth to it that I don't even fully understand yet. I know that it's important for me to just surrender. I got quiet. I set intentions. What's the capacity that I can work with here? What's the most amount of people I could hold in this container, in this course, and all the rest of the details? And just trust that the people who are ready to do this work are gonna be in it. And um the fact that I didn't have 10 or whatever the max number was, it ended up being so perfect. And you don't necessarily always hear these stories, especially for people who are kind of mentoring or coaching, right? They don't talk about how like they didn't fill all the spots. I'm freaking happy I didn't fill the spots, because you know what it actually meant? What it allowed me to do and how it unfolded is there were two women in the course with me that I feel very safe with. They were an extremely safe space. So there was reciprocal energy there. And when I was normally like, so when I did the 5-week mindfulness meditation course, which is now called Create Your Calm. So that's self-study that's available. I was very prepared. I had like the lesson plans and the subject matter. I made like I think I made presentation slides that I ended up making available. And a lot of the monthly classes inside the Living on Lemonade group were, I had like the Canva slides ready for them. Very structured, very like masculine structure, having feminine flow through it. Like feminine is like the creativity, the creation energy, that intuitive, like the hits that come. And yeah, it's the creation, and the masculine energy is the container, the structure that brings it into the world, instead of just these concepts or this energy and these ideas, right? So very structured. But like right off the bat, I was like, I just can't conceptualize the full details of each topic, of each module. I knew the topic names originally, and I think a couple of them ended up changing, but it was like I had this like framework, and I wasn't able to go much, like looking down the path of the course. I couldn't see very far on the path. I had like a couple breadcrumbs that I was following, a couple steps, but really this entire course unfolded like before me, but not far ahead of wherever I was at the time. And that was scary. But at the same time, because I'd set that intention of just, I surrender knowing that there's some like magic, there's some depth to this course, and I surrender to however it's going to unfold, and I trust that it's going to unfold in the way that it needs to, and I follow the path and I follow the crumbs. Pretty much every module. So I ran it live every week. We had it was 5 weeks, 5 topics. So every week I would deliver a live course, and then at the live class, and then at the end of the class, there's always a meditation. I did that with the Create Your Calm as well. And then after the meditation, we would jump on Zoom and kind of debrief for whoever wanted to talk about it. Otherwise, they had the opportunity to just kind of sit and process it, because there was some deep shit that we went through, or we were led through. But I wouldn't have the actual details of what I was going to talk about until like the day of, or sometimes like an hour before the class. I would jot down a few notes that came to me. I would go into meditation before the class started and say like, okay, what are we talking about today? I know the subject, but like what does this look like? And what unfolded was just so powerful. Like I listened back to some of the like the modules, and it was like, wow, I feel like I'm listening to it for the first time, because the words just flowed out of me in a way that has never happened before. And it was so beautiful. And I would also get a glimpse of what type of meditation I was going to lead them through each week with the subject matter. The first week, we went into a meditation and we met our own soul, like our own soul space, what that looks like for us, different for everyone. And I was able to articulate it in a way that it wasn't like leading them on any sort of narrow path of what it should look like. It was vague enough that they could make it their own. Week 2 was, we talked about identity, and the meditation was about going back to a previous version of ourselves and giving ourselves the love that we needed and didn't have at the time. And being able to kind of like, there's a term in psychology, I would link that to like reparenting. We were, as our adult, fully brain developed selves, and just having the wisdom that we do at the age that we are now, like what would we ask the question, what would we tell our younger selves if we had that opportunity to, watch, witness that happening? So we essentially just went into a bit of like a regression, and went into a past version of ourselves, and gave us what we needed at the time that we didn't have. And that was like incredibly profound, like life changing. Other topics, other module topics, building capacity through the nervous system, because truly, if you want to learn how to connect with your soul and lead from soul, we can't bypass the fact that we're a soul having a human experience. There's a whole like mechanism here, right? We come here to experience that and have like the nice balance. The idea behind that, and so the reason why we talked about nervous system work is it's really important to work with our human, so that we can, when it's overactivated, give it the nourishment and the healing, and the what it needs to quiet down. Because when we're super stressed out and activated, something dysregulating happens, our human is loud. And by human, I just mean like the amygdala, that fear and emotional center of the brain. Prefrontal cortex can shut off, and that's kind of what helps us make decisions and judgment and all those things. So we have to be able to work with our human to keep it quiet or calm it down, to hear the voice of our intuition, to be able to receive those nudges, because soul nudges tend to be quiet. They're kind of subtle. You get this like little thought of like, oh, go do this, or did you forget that? I got lots of stories on like how my intuition was telling me stuff, and I was just like, I don't know. But it ended up being like, damn it, I should have listened. So I've started like really being like, okay, because you have that kind of moment in time where it's like you either just act on it and follow it, or if you wait too long, the human like brain comes in going like, that doesn't make any sense. Don't worry about that. Like that's just like a weird thought. And then you can kind of shut it down and disregard it. But there's been a couple times lately where I'm like, I should have listened because then life will show me that I was actually right with that quiet voice. That's your intuition. But we have to be able to take care of our human to even hear that voice and then have the awareness to be like, "Ooh, recognize it. Okay, I'm gonna follow that breadcrumb and it's gonna take me wherever I need to go." That also wouldn't make sense otherwise. And then other modules, the last two modules, the language of intuition, how through our own senses intuition has its own language, has its own senses as well, but they're like inward senses that we can explore and understand it was an introduction to like what are your strongest intuitive senses and how can you start to kind of get curious about them, recognize them in your own life and start to develop them further, either like the strong ones you want to make more prominent or the ones that aren't as strong you can kind of start developing. And then the last module was getting into that, like, soul care tool belt. It's called the 8 pillars of self-care and the mind, body, soul connection. So kind of bringing everything together, like, what even though this course is called Meet Your Soul, it's not fully about just our soul and the intuition. It's giving you an opportunity to meet and start to recognize, interact, and build that part of yourself so that it can have a more prominent role in your life, but also knowing that in order to do that, you need to take care of your human, like your body and that survival mechanism. That's what I mean by human, right? Otherwise, it sounds really weird. Take care of your human, but literally, like how to nourish and take care of that survival mechanism, recognizing it, not bypassing it, but allowing it to show you what it's trying to say and working with it. And then when you know that it's just like, oh, I'm work up for no reason, having those tools to kind of like, you're okay, you're safe, finding that safety, meet your soul, finding that safe space inside of you, and allowing that safety to bring you from like surviving to thriving. That's the vibe. That's the vibe of meet your soul. It's bringing awareness and starting to move towards a lifestyle, like a way of life that allows you to live bigger, follow those dreams, and not let fear get in the way so much, right? Fear is always going to be there. It's just part of our human experience. But when we can understand how our survival mechanism works, we can start to work with it and say, like, thank you for keeping me safe. But this is actually something that would really expand me because the soul will always lead us into more expansion, more growth. That's the whole point, the way with my belief system. So I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's allowing us to explore what it's like to thrive in our daily life instead of just surviving if that's a place that we've been living from. And I can tell you for a long time, a lot of my experience was surviving the pain of losing my dad. Um, Sometimes like it wasn't an overnight thing. I have all these tools, but I'm glad that I went through it just because I can see the part that the soul care tool belt played in my survival in just getting me through that season. Because it's not necessarily going to flip a switch for you, but it's going to get you through that season towards that light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. When you can then start to see the light, you can start to see more around you, you can start building nervous system capacity, and you can start to see that there's more, and you can start to one of the really important things while I was navigating that dark time was finding ways to still connect with my joy. So through hobbies, through sewing, through quilting, connecting with nature, connecting with friends. And that obviously wasn't an everyday thing because some days were just fucking dark. Like I'm just sitting in the dark. But I had friends who would sit in the dark with me. And it's important to have those relationships and those open and honest conversations so that when you're having a day like that, they're not trying to fix you. They'll just say like, "Do you want me to sit in the dark with you?" And, figuratively, um, just touch shoulders with you so someone's right beside you, or hold your hand. And um, it's beautiful. And I think this is the human experience, is coming into awareness of this and being able to support each other in really authentic and real ways, without trying to like fix each other or bypass the difficulty of what we're going through, because nothing makes us feel more alone than when we don't feel validated in our real experience and what we're experiencing in real time. So yeah, that's the experience. That is the birth of Meet Your Soul. Now this evolution of it, this is the second evolution. So what I did is I've got all the modules recorded. So what I'm going to do is, it's still 5 weeks. Each Monday, one of the modules will drop into, it's in the Facebook group right now. I think as I start building this business, there are resources that I will start to like, um, more resources, more paid resources that I can house these things in. But I'm just kind of like building it as I go, and as things build for me, then I can start to use more resources, and have the business support itself more, right? So right now it's in a Facebook group. If there was someone interested that's not on Facebook, I can certainly upload it to like a private YouTube channel and have it drop that way. There's options. As I kind of like, I'm just taking it one step at a time, one breadcrumb, see what's working, and then try new things as things grow. And because the first two modules were very profound meditations, I have the meditations recorded. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to jump on Zoom as a group. It's going to be like a group call, and I will play the recording of the meditation, but still be online with you. We'll go through the meditation together and then have time to talk about it at the end. They will not be recorded. Those sessions are not recorded. They're groups. Actually, they will be recorded, but only for the group, that group will have access to. They will not be used in future trainings. I would just, because, and why I say that is, if someone in the group is unable to be live with us, I will have held the intention and held the loving space so that not only for like in the moment for the group that's live with me, but for the people who are going to watch it when they're able to and go through the work as well. It would be like still being in there live, just with the intention setting and all that stuff. I know it sounds funny, but it's a thing. I felt it in programs as well. So the first two modules will have live group calls, just because it goes deep. And the feedback that I got was, it was very important to have me there to hold the space and have the opportunity to kind of debrief and talk it out a little bit with what came through. So those first two modules will have live calls with them, just to go through the meditation and the bit of the regression. And then the next three will kind of come out just weekly. And then at the end of the 5 weeks, we'll do like a group call at the end, Q&A. If you need more one-on-one support, that can be an add-on. And yeah, we start November 4th. The cost of the course is $222. Amazing for the depths of the work that we're going to do and the support that I'm going to provide you. I'll put a link in the show notes or wherever this video will end up, so that if you want to check out the little kind of landing, or like the page that I created, the sales page, I guess you could call it, but really just all the information beautifully put into one spot, along with the checkout. It'll all be there. There's a checkout link. I can also do e-transfer. It's fine, whatever way works best for anyone interested. Send me a message if you have any questions. This is like, this is my soul work, right? This came directly from my own dark night of the soul, and going through that dark time and taking the beautiful nuggets and the light from it, and then being able to help other people through these times, leading them. So if you feel called to this, let me know. I'd be happy to answer any questions or have a little chit chat. I'm not here to try and convince anyone to come into the program. If you feel drawn to it, that means that's the vibe for you, right? I kind of set that intention of like the people who are ready for this and have like a like it just hits you. There's just a way that it hits you when you learn about it and read about it. And it's just like, I'm ready. You'll just know it in your body. Those are the people I know are ready for this work. So I'm not going to try and like sell you anything. I'm giving you the information from my this is how it came about. This is why I'm excited about it because I know that it has the opportunity to impact so many lives for those who are ready for that chapter. And I'm excited to facilitate and host that. So, yeah, I'm gonna hop off now. I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed the story behind this next chapter, I guess, in the Living on Lemonade teaching part. And yeah, I will take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye everyone.